Welcome back to the Fourth and Gold NFL podcast. As you might have seen, we have rebranded. So we hope, no, we don't hope. We we think you'll like our new logo. We sit here, I believe, about 48 or 49 days away from the new season. Just take that in for a moment. It is close. That I feel the sense of urgency with the season now. Like we are nearly there, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, the stories just keep coming. I mean, when I didn't see the jersey number when you came on screen. I just saw the blue and red and thought, oh, he's wearing Von Miller because Von Miller's just signed with the Commanders. I'm going to say Washington because I still have an issue. Still
Yeah.
Commanders doesn't Commanders, and there's talk that they might change that as well, maybe.
Mm.
But yeah, there's something going on all the time, and there's just questions all the time, and we haven't even gone through schedules yet. Like
Mm.
bets, schedules. There's going to be the roster cut downs. There's going to be some surprising names that are going to be cut. They're going to be unemployed, and yeah, players are going to change hands. They're going to change jersey colors before September, before we kick off for real. So yeah, there's always something. And NFL just does a one job, like of just yeah.
I feel like this off season has flown by quicker than others. I don't know why, but uh,
Well,
maybe it's the fact that we've it feels like we've been really engaged this off season. So
we've been working through it, haven't we?
we've been working through it. Exactly.
You know,
All
if
right.
you just go through and you're always thinking of like, oh, how do I break down this team? Let's make some content about this division, this team, this story that's come out. Then suddenly, like, bam, training camp's here, and
Yeah,
then you're into right. This is real now.
we're nearly there.
We're
All
nearly.
right. Well, today we're going to be looking at we're going to be continuing our journey in previewing each division, and today it is the NFC East. So I think we'll start off with what Vegas thinks of this division. So we've got Eagles as the favourites at 8 to 11, the Washington as second favourite at 2 to 1, the Cowboys at 5 to 1, and then the Giants at 20 to 1. And let's face it, for the Giants, it might as well be 100 to 1 because I don't see them winning this division. And you can put me on freezing cold takes if this happens. What is your what's your feeling? Do you think Vegas have got it right?
I think that Dallas are a bit undervalued.
Mm.
That Dak was hurt for a lot of last year, and they weren't terrible. There's a lot of questions with Dallas, like new head coach, and he's never been a head coach. And Dak's coming off an Achilles tear, and we saw what Aaron Rodgers was at the start of last year with an Achilles tear. Um, they lost to Marcus Lawrence. Like they've got questions, but they do have talent in
Yeah.
certain, and I think they're closer to the top two than Vegas do not give them credit for. I think the Giants, yeah, you're right. Like catch me on camera right here, right now, and I'll say it. Like they are not winning this division. Um, but the Giants is more like they're forward thinking. They've drafted a quarterback. Are the coaches going to be there? They've got the historically toughest win loss. They've got the toughest schedule according to not strength of schedule, but according to the Vegas win loss teams that they will be going up against this year. And apparently, it's not close. Like, and
It's brutal.
yeah,
If I remember rightly, it is brutal.
yeah, I think I heard that right that they play six of their first seven are against playoff teams from last year. And yeah, and
I
they've
think I'm surprised that the Commanders are. I think what would probably make it more accurate for me is if the Commanders were closer to the Cowboys than they are to the Eagles, because you know we've seen it before, and we'll talk about it, later in the show. Are we going to see a sophomore slump from Daniels? We don't. That's something I'll be interested to get your thoughts on. The Commanders sort of came out of nowhere. Can they follow it up?
yeah. But on the flip side, are we going to see the continued growth of Jayden Daniels in the second year with Cliff Kingsbury and the stability that Dan Quinn has brought to that franchise? They went from, I believe it was 4 wins to 12 wins. Like, that's huge. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'd slump and go to 10 wins and still make the wild card. Like, they showed last year, really dangerous team in the playoffs. Like, you do not ask Detroit, you don't want Washington coming into your stadium. Like,
No
so
way.
yeah, I think you're right that Washington are closer to Dallas. I think that, but that's the nature of gamblers that, we're going to look for. It's not, we'll look at the favorite and think, oh, can I make an argument to go elsewhere? I don't really think, but Philadelphia are deserved favorites, Super Bowl champs. Most of the time going back, yeah, they lost some guys especially on defense, but they
They've
lost.
picked up some diamonds in the dirt that we can discuss when we get to them.
And just go back through history, they do find a way to pick up players that you don't think. Jihad Campbell playing next to Zach Bourne this year, that could be ridiculous. So yeah, this division's quite exciting. Bar the Giants, I think this division's quite exciting. So yeah, it's an interesting one to go through.
I agree. Okay. Well, we will break down every team, but something we did last time in a division less talented was our non-quarterback draft. So I thought let's give that another go in the NFC East, where it feels like there is an abundance of talent in this division. So we're gonna do the same as last time. We've got 3 picks. I'll give you the first pick. Non-quarterback draft in the NFC East. Who would be your first pick?
Saquon Barkley.
Ooh, nice one.
And
Very good.
yeah, just has to be. He plays running back. Probably the main reason why he wasn't, well, running backs aren't strongly considered for MVP, but saw the difference that he made last year on this Eagles team, and yeah, he's just a freak.
And it's what you said. They put an elite running back into an elite running system, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. First pick for me is going to be Micah Parsons, who, based on age, is probably the defensive player I would want on my team. We've got the greats like Myles Garrett, we've got TJ Watt, but it feels like Micah Parsons is at that age where he's just about to hit his true prime. And I don't think I've ever seen anyone manhandle Lane Johnson the way Micah Parsons has done that in the past. So this is a special talent.
Okay. It's close at receiver. I think the 3 receivers are close. CD, AJ Brown, and Terry McLaurin. I think they're close, but I'll take CD Lamb just ahead of AJ Brown, who can be devastating, but plays in a Philly passing offense that isn't as prolific as the Cowboys. And I think we're going to see CD Lamb he was still very good last year, but I think we're going to see him come back this year with Dak And the Cowboys have a bit of continuity with Dak, CD, and the head coach is or was the offensive coordinator when Dak had those crazy high. I mean, we used to give him stick for being like padding your stats when they're, but the fact is they scored a lot of points and CD had a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. So I'll go CD now.
Okay, good pick. I guess you've made my pick for me, as I will take AJ Brown, who, based on our last conversation, I'm probably a bit higher on than you are. Um, yeah, I mean, it is a run first offense, but you want to talk about bailout receiver. This is your guy, AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts can just lob it up to AJ Brown and he'll make the play. And let's not forget, this is the guy that had, what was it, 6 or 7 games in a row where he went 125 yards. So he's definitely got takeover qualities. So yeah, that is my second pick, AJ Brown.
I'm gonna I'm gonna pick a potential player, and I'm gonna pick Malik Neighbors because the talent is. I know I didn't mention him in the first three receivers, but I think he's got the potential to be anything he wants to be in this league. He's just so talented, and yeah, I think Malik Neighbors. The catch radius is a joke. They just need to get him more involved. They need better quarterback play, and I think Malik Neighbors is going to be a superstar in this league.
That's definitely a yards after catch machine in the making. And he comes from wide receiver university that is LSU. So I can only see good things for him. All right. My third and final pick is, I can't believe you've left him on the table for me, to be honest, is Jalen Carter. Probably the best defensive tackle in the NFL now. I mean, he's just a game breaker. I mean, imagine that I've got Micah Parsons, and next to him is Jalen Carter. So this six that we've drafted, that would make some team.
Well, you've taken defense and I've taken offense.
There you go.
I've left McLaurin on the table, and I've left Zach Bourne on the table, and I've left. Yeah, they were rookies, but the two corners for the Eagles were exceptional last year.
Yeah.
Mitchell and DeJean.
This is a far more loaded division than the AFC East was, I think.
Trayvon Diggs, like I know he's hot and cold and he doesn't really cover, but he can certainly intercept the football. So
George Pickens.
George Pickens is a less than the other receivers at the moment, but George Pickens can, if he wants to be, and that's the thing with George Pickens, if he wants to be, yeah, then he can be brilliant. And he's got a great opportunity. So, and I hope he does well. There's none of that, oh, he's left town and I hope that his career kind of burns. No, I hope George Pickens does well. It's just a shame that the Steelers didn't need that drama. But maybe he's going to grow up. Maybe he's just maturing late. We'll see.
I mean, if he does, this is going to be the best offense he's been on.
Yeah, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's like I said, it's Schottenheimer and Dak Prescott. He's the number two. Brandon Cooks has left, so he's the definite number two in a CeeDee Lamb dominated offense. Not a great running game. They love to pass the football. Over to you now, George.
Yeah.
He's got to earn that contract. So he wants to be paid like an elite receiver. Everything's there on the table for him. He just needs to go out there and just be mature. And From Dak, from what I see from Dak, I mean, think he's. I don't want him to lead me in a playoff game, but he looks like quite a good leader. At least he
Yeah.
says. I mean, maybe a bit stereotype, like less than Russell Wilson. He kind of seems to say the right things at the right moment. Maybe not as cheesy as Russell Wilson, but he seems like a leader. And
I think players like playing with him. It's just that, we've seen him in how many spots in the playoffs just not turn up.
yeah,
That's
and
always going to be my gripe with him.
well, it's starting to burn now, really, for the Cowboys. The cap hit his contract, and he is not Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. He has not earned that contract. And now it's starting to kind of, the bill has come due for Dak's contracts. So, yeah, over to him, back from injury, same coach, pretty much the same kind of offense. Yeah, they lost Zach Martin, but they drafted a guard. So over to him.
Well, that's a big loss. And just to touch on the contract. So I
What
don't know why.
is the actual number of the contract? I heard 80. Is it 80 next year? Or
I don't have the breakdown by year, but I can't believe no one has spoken about this contract. So let me remind you, Deshaun Watson signed a 5-year, 230 million fully guaranteed contract. And the headline is always fully guaranteed. What were they thinking? Dak Prescott's contract is a 4-year, $240 million contract. So that's 60 million per year. 231 is guaranteed. So we're talking about 9 million not being guaranteed. It's basically like Deshaun Watson's contract, except it doesn't carry that, that sexy headline of it's fully guaranteed. I mean, it might as well be. So he's got a lot to live up to. And I know it's the Cowboys. I know that, what comes with that. It is sensational, it's sensationalism. Dak, if he plays well, he's the best quarterback in the league. Dak, if he doesn't play well, is the worst quarterback in the league.
yeah,
I like to think we're more level-headed than that. And I think we're fair in saying Dak has done less with more in the past. Like he's had good rosters and he has come up short. So he's going to have to really justify this contract, I think, by taking it up a level.
absolutely. This is not a mid-level contract. And yeah, he's a slightly above mid-level quarterback if you take the overall kind of body of work of Dak Prescott, playoffs, regular season, clutch moments, everything all together. You add it all up, you probably end up, you know, 11th, 12th best quarterback in the league, I would say. He's talented, you know. I saw a reel on Instagram today. Would you take Dak or Jared Goff? And everybody, without hesitation, said Dak. Like, and I saw somebody posted like, if you don't say Dak, you don't know ball. Like, okay, but what's really the question? What's the game that I'm trying to win? Am I trying to win? Am I trying to beat the Titans at 1 o'clock, week 7 in the regular season, or am I trying to go into Philadelphia in the on the road in the divisional round of the playoffs? It's a different question. And you have to take everything into account. So it's not as simplistic as just saying, yeah, Dak. And if you don't say Dak, you don't know ball. No, you're not paying attention. And I agree it is close, Dak and Goff, and that's what I mean. I had Goff ranked 10 and I probably have Dak around 12. So it's close, but 12 shouldn't be 231 million guaranteed. And
Highest paid quarterback in the league.
and the bills come due now. They've got to pay that bill. They're paying that bill right now, and look at their defense. Like there's a lot of less than talent around the Cowboys. And that's what happens when you pay the quarterback that amount of money because Dak hasn't shown that he can elevate in the lesser than years. Say if you say the Josh Allen times that he elevates everybody around him on the Bills, and the Mahomes last year elevated everybody on the Chiefs. They've shown that over time. Dak seems to need everything to roster, coaching, everything seems to need to be in his favor for him to, have an 11-12 win season. But he hasn't then gone on to show that he can win in the playoffs as well. The quarterbacks that I mentioned have. So you have to take everything into account when you're paying a quarterback and when you're ranking quarterbacks. And those kind of questions, Goff or Prescott, well, Dak gets a lot more media coverage, and Goff will always be tarred with people will remember, oh, McVay wanted him out of town. Well, it didn't. Yeah, that was probably a trade that worked out well for both teams overall after the event. But if he knew what Jared Goff was going to turn into, I don't think Sean McVay makes the same trade now that he did back then, or at least he asks for a shit ton more. You're not going to give Goff and picks to the Lions. It's at least going to be an even trade. Or maybe it's even the other way because Goff's a lot younger than Stafford. So
McVay couldn't get it out of him though. That's the ironic thing. Just on Dak, you say like he's not shown that he can do more with less. I don't think he's really shown that he can do more with more. Like, yes, in the regular season, when they've had good teams, sure, they've been in contention for the number one seed, for example. But when it comes to the playoffs, like, how many times have we seen Dak just collapse, really, not show up? The teams playing the Cowboys against the 49ers. The Cowboys were the far better team for the first half, for much of the third quarter. But Dak's mistakes cost them that game. They should have won that game. So,
yeah, I'll remember that game because it's the Mr. Irrelevant. It's the last pick of the draft, outplaying Dak. And Dak didn't need to be a hero in that game. He just needed to not turn the ball over because the 49ers were not great on that day. And Dallas did, for most of that ball game, outplay them. And maybe the headlines would be different if the Cowboys had have just won that game, which they should have. And
Dak's 2 picks cost them the game.
Dak was sorry after the event and said that he should have done better. Yeah, but he's still cashing $231 million guaranteed. So Purdy was at that time paid, and even now was paid a lot less than Dak Prescott.
Yep. Okay. Well, seeing as we're on the topic of the Cowboys, I figured it would be what a great team to do the win-loss prediction. So we're going to do Cowboys win-loss prediction. Same rules apply as last time. Just give me your snap reaction, Paul. So, starting off at the Eagles to open the season.
Loss.
Home to the Giants.
They win now.
Ooh, week 3 at the Bears.
See, this is close. At the Bears, the weather will still be good in Chicago. Give them the win.
Home to the Packers. Back to the scene of the crime for Jordan Love.
That's another primetime game. I'm going to give the Cowboys the win. I say this is their revenge moment.
Interesting. At Jets.
It's close because they lose these kind of games. I'll give them the win.
So we're now on a 4-game winning streak at the Panthers.
I say they drop this one. They're not going to win both. So the Jets, Panthers back to back. I say they drop one.
Classic Cowboys. Home to the Commanders.
Give them the win.
At the Denver Broncos.
Loss.
Home to the Cardinals.
Win.
They then have their bye week, and coming off their bye week, they are at Raiders.
Win.
Home to the Eagles.
Loss.
Then we hit Thanksgiving. Home to the Chiefs.
Loss.
The Chiefs love these games.
They lose on Thanksgiving a lot, the Cowboys. I know they play every year, but
They then follow it up by playing Thursday night the week after at the Lions.
loss. Brutal schedule.
Yeah. Home to the Vikings.
Ooh. JJ McCarthy could be cooking by then, or he could be. I say win. Give them the win.
Home to the Chargers.
They'll lose that. The Chargers are too tough. Dallas can't stop the run.
Yep. I think they were the second best scoring defense last year. At Commanders.
So they lose that one.
And to finish off, they are at the Giants.
Win.
Win. So you've got them exactly how I've got them at 9 and 8.
I think the Cowboys have got a good roster. They've got a lot of talent, and they're gonna blow out a lot. Well, not blow out. They're gonna score a lot of points, which gives them a great chance in most games. So,
And the thing is, they are a regular season team.
yeah,
You know, that's the thing.
yeah,
Like that, generally, I mean, okay, they've had a few lean years, but when they've got talent, when everyone is healthy, they do win in the regular season.
yeah,
And you look at their schedule, there are some games there where you think they should win those.
yeah. I'm not mad. I'm not a huge fan of the Cowboys, but I'm not mad at having them 10-7. I think that's kind of spot on where I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it going in. Just, I think they'll probably split with the Commanders. I think they'll sweep the Giants, and I think they get swept by the Eagles. And then the rest, they're kind of toss-up games. So I had them drop into the Chargers because I think that's a bad matchup for them. And I've got them drop into the Panthers because I don't think they're going to beat the Jets, Panthers back-to-back on the road. I think they'll drop one of them. That's kind of what they do. And I've got them beating the Packers because, that's going to be a shootout. That's probably going to be a bet player prop kind of a game.
Yeah, no, I like your thinking on that.
Probably going to be a bet both quarterbacks over 300 yards and over 50 odd points.
Yep.
And the Cowboys have 9 games in prime time. So that's kind of, is that an advantage? I think it kind of is a little bit.
Yeah. You've got them off to a hot start, which they typically do when they're good.
Yeah.
And then they'll taper off. So
well, that's a soft part of their schedule straight away. You look at the schedule and yeah, I mean they need to get going early. Yeah, they play the Eagles to kick off the season, but then yeah, I think they could get going soon. And the head coach was the OC, so I think they could have some familiarity and just get going.
Yeah. So they do have one glaring issue still outstanding before we head into this season, and it's the Micah Parsons contract. You know, it's going to cost a lot. They're now paying the penalty for not getting ahead of this, unlike their rivals, the Eagles, who always get ahead of these contracts. They've just let it simmer. They've just pushed it down the well, and now what? We're looking at. Well, I don't think that Micah Parsons is just looking to leapfrog Jamar Chase, who I think is at 40 and a half. Is it 40 and a half? Somewhere in that region. I
Yeah.
don't think that I don't think that Micah Parsons is sitting there going, well, yeah, just give me 40.6 per year and I'll be happy with that. I think that he will be trying to blow that out the water. So they have a big problem here. But I don't think you can let this player walk out the building. I know that he can be a bit of a distraction with his podcast, but there's a lot worse that he could be doing. And for me, the great, not the good, but the great far outweighs the negative with him. Like this is a very, very, very talented defensive player. And like I was saying before, I mean, what do you think, Paul? In terms of edge rusher, I know that there are players that may be viewed as better than him, but in terms of like if you were starting your franchise, is there anyone else that you would want? We're not talking about 1 year, but we're talking about someone to build your defense around for the next 3, 4, 5 years that you would have over Micah Parsons
At edge
at
rush.
edge.
I think Miles Garrett is better than
Yeah,
Mike Parsons.
but he is 30.
Yeah, but you said 3 years, so I think over the 3 years,
It'll still be, yeah, Miles Garrett will still be good for 3 years for sure. Yeah.
yeah. I and Mike Parsons, I don't watch him closely. I just see kind of the head. I see the sacks, obviously the highlight reels, but he doesn't seem to be involved in like the run game like as much as the others, and he isn't asked to cover. Most that's harsh because most of them aren't expected to cover these pure edge rushers like go and get the quarterback. But I don't think he's contributing enough to the team in the run game.
Mm. They've
And
struggled against the run, and it is because of that. He's not as big as like a Miles Garrett, so maybe that's part of it.
yeah, and I don't watch enough Cowboys games closely enough to break this down, but a lot of times teams would attack where the blitz is coming from. So they know almost on every play the blitz is coming from this side, so we'll run into that vacated space. And Parsons is not undersized, but he's not a huge edge rusher. He's not a Miles Garrett kind of
He,
thing.
he's a speed rusher.
Yeah, yeah. Parsons is damn good, but the Cowboys have got themselves in a mess because Dak's already been paid and CD's already been paid, and I'm reading they've got 30 million in cap space now, and they're going to have to pay Parsons, but they should have paid him last year because now it's more expensive, and yeah, they just needed to have done it already because I don't see the benefit. I really don't see the benefit in just holding on to it.
And you think you've got Dak at 60, but obviously it's different weighting per year. Like you said, I think one of the years coming up is above 70. So they're going to have to rework that. You got CD at, is it 34? And then you're going to have Micah Parsons at over 40. So, you're talking what 140 million on 3 players. That's a lot. That's you're going to become very top heavy.
And what ends up happening is that, you know, offensive line is less than, and your linebackers are less than. And the
Yeah.
Cowboys don't have great linebackers besides Parsons, who's not a traditional linebacker. Let's face it, he's a pass rusher. And the secondary is less than. And your depth, like your running game is less than. Like they're trying to revamp the running game by bringing in Javonte Williams from Denver, who I like. He's tough, but he's not quick. And Sean Payton knows a thing or two about running backs, and he didn't want to keep him. So that's what happens when the rest of your roster suffers when you've paid Dak and CD and yeah,
paid them late. All of them paid them late. That's the problem. They needed to get ahead of it.
yeah. So it's just a case of timing for the Cowboys. Like he's wanting to be extended at the same time as Dak's contract is crazy. So the Cowboys really needed to have been drafting a quarterback this year or next year.
This is why this is actually a good deal for the Steelers with Pickens, because really the Cowboys have paid a third for Pickens, who is not going to re-sign next year, because I don't see how they can afford it. Because I mean, and I'm assuming that they're going to pay Micah Parsons. If they don't, every team will be in the queue. But let's say that they do. There's no way that they could keep Pickens. So they've basically given away a third rounder for a 1-year rental.
Yeah, exactly. They've got big questions coming up, Dallas, for sure. Because I don't get it with Dak Prescott, and yeah, he's a great leader and things that you hear. Yeah, he's a great team guy. Okay, is he taking less money? And you don't want to talk about a guy and his money, but
can he justify it? If let him take it, is he justifying it? He is not.
well, the money's just it's just out of this world money for what he is, and yeah, they've just got problems, and most of it's money related.
So I mean that's pretty much the Cowboys in a nutshell. Unless you got anything else to add, Paul.
Yeah, we mentioned George Pickens, and he brings a lot of talent, and hopefully he doesn't bring a lot of chaos to the Cowboys. Hopefully George has good people in his circle who advise him, speak to him wisely, and say, George, just don't be who you have been through your career for just 1 year, because you're going to get paid at the end of it, because the talent is there, the athleticism is there, the catch radius is there. He just needs, and he's in the perfect situation, he just needs to play football and not be the old George Pickens for just 1 year. And because of that, that's why I'm not low on the Cowboys. I think I'm quite high on the Cowboys in comparison to the media and to Vegas.
They can make some noise for sure. And you know, Pickens, it's what you always say, like he in Madden terms, this guy's 99 spectacular catch. Like he makes the most outrageous catches you'll ever see. And if he does put it all together, I mean, you're looking at this duo of CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Like, if they're both on, where do they rank? Like, who are the better duos out there outside of them? I mean, I'm still taking Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, personally.
Yeah, I take the Eagles as well. I'd take Brown and Devontae Smith as well over there. But
who else? You know, they are right up there on that. You know, if Pickens is on.
Well, they're two number one receivers, at least talent-wise. CeeDee's shown it. George Pickens at least started last year as the Steelers' number one receiver in a not prolific passing offense, but he's talented enough to be a number one receiver. So that's scary for the rest of the league, because you know they're going to pass the football a lot. There's going to be volume there. CD's going to be covered. He's going to draw attention from opposing defense. So in that way, the Cowboys are kind of scary. They've shown before they're not that bothered about the running game, and they'll be involved in these crazy games, these shootouts. The defense could have problems, but the Cowboys could be a great bet every single week. Just bet player props and bet over the points total. And
Definitely. Pickens as a number, like it is two number ones, but effectively Pickens is the second option.
yeah,
That's insane, really. That could be potentially amazing.
yeah. And even when everybody knew that CD Lamb was going to get the ball, he's their go-to, he still was making catches and still a high volume of catches. So, like, that's true elite play in the NFL when you know what they're going to do and you can still do it. That's really, really hard to do. And the Cowboys just do it with CD Lamb. So now add George Pickens. If Dak is back to regular season Dak off his Achilles tear, then who knows?
Would you take Jefferson and Addison over CD Lamb and Pickens? Like obviously Jefferson we've established is the best receiver in the league, but like with Addison, like who'd you take?
I'd take Jefferson and anybody over CD Pickens. I don't think it matters. I think
Yeah,
me or you could be playing number two receiver. So he's just a multiplier as the number one.
yeah, he is special though, to be fair.
Yeah. So, but they're really damn good. These Cowboys receivers, two number ones at least in talent. So
Because when you look at this division, in fact, you know, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith is probably the top duo. Then you've got CD Lamb and George Pickens. We're going to get to the other teams, but the Commanders have now got, well, at the moment, they've got Scary Terry and I guess Debo Samuel. And then the Giants have got Malik Neighbors and one of our favorites, Darius Slayton. So, like, there's a lot that you know. Obviously, the first two really stand out, but there's a lot of good receivers in this division.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, there's a lot. And the Eagles have the receivers, but they're not a high volume passing team. But they can still go to that if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And the Giants, I'm just interested to see if Malik Neighbors can. Malik Neighbors with Russell Wilson, at least it's going to be Russell Wilson to start with. Malik Neighbors is going to. Malik Neighbors could have a lot of yards because Russell Wilson throws the ball deep. He's got the moon ball, and that's his real strength, Russell Wilson. He's not a high volume passer. But yeah, Malik Neighbors could go kind of crazy.
He reached the default landmark that is 1,000 yards last year. Who was throwing to him? It was Daniel Jones to start off with, and then it was like what, a merry-go-round. Drew Lock. Anyone else?
They had that
Tommy DeVito.
I mean, I wasn't paying much attention to Giants because they was that terrible. But
It's like one of those again, like we were saying, like I was saying about Garrett Wilson last time. Like, what could Malik Neighbors be with really good quarterback play if he's already hitting 1,000 yards with terrible quarterback play? Let's face it.
yeah, and there was a lot of plays as well where he was, catching short passes, making guys miss, catching screens out the backfield. They were trying to get him involved, and I was really impressed with Malik Neighbors and just not just the spectacular catches, but that he could make plays, make happen. not just catch a 20-yard out, but make guys miss in the congested middle of the field. And yeah, I think the future is exciting. And the Giants have actually drafted pretty well the last kind of couple of years. The Giants have drafted pretty well. And obviously the big question mark will be Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's just one of those where like, and I know that at the, I've been a Saquon fan for a long time, so it's easy for me to say, don't let that guy walk out of your building. But it's true, like, it's almost like if they had kept Saquon, he wouldn't have had the season he had last year. Okay, fine. But just keeping those elite play like Neighbors, Saquon, this is a lesson of like just hold on to your elite players, because it's not like it was a 40 million investment for Saquon. He just wanted a bit more than the tag, which was 11 million.
yeah,
So
it is sad for Giants fans, but and he did want to be there as well.
yeah,
He's not a diva. He wasn't a problem. He was playing, and no one would blame him if he did want out of town after like he would either have like a 0 yard rush or have to be spectacular to have a 1 yard gain, or he would break one with the Giants just because of how bad the O line was.
and because of it, he wasn't rated. And like, everyone's saying, "Oh, well, Saquon's not." No, he's not. He's not a top five running back. And like, it used to frustrate me. So when he went to the Eagles, I said, "Aha, okay. Now you're gonna see. Now you're gonna see why he is a top five running back."
Yeah, because I think the thing with Saquon was that the rest of the league probably thought, well, he's not consistent enough. Like he either like breaks the big run or there's a lot of rushes for nothing. But that was probably as a result of the offensive line that he
Yeah.
had. Obviously, the passing game wasn't great in his time there, but now with the offensive line and the dual threat of having Jalen Hurts and a team that is dedicated to the run, they are predominantly a run first team. At least
Yeah.
run leads onto the pass, play action, and those kind of schemes. He is consistent. He can just run up the middle for a 5 yard solid gain on first down. The Giants, that was much more difficult to do, to have any sort of gain. It was only be, yeah. Yeah, it's sad for Giants fans, and I don't want to pile on the Giants, but the guy did want to be there, and they let him walk. And yeah, like you said, it's rare when you get spectacular talent.
Like him and Neighbors together would have been very interesting. I know that they're still far from really challenging, but that's kind of your mentality though. You've got to do it brick by brick. We've got a superstar, and now we've got another potential superstar. Where do you think the Giants are? Like, what is the expectation for this year? Because I don't see playoff team, but they've clearly got to show some progress, because this is an owner that is infamous for kind of like 2 bad years and you're out.
Yeah.
Well, the GM has survived that. Daboll is also still there, and I am totally against Daboll going. Like, this is a really good head coach. Just give him a decent roster. And like you said, they seem to have been drafting better as of late, and they're on that journey. But it feels like there's still a way to go.
Yeah, the Giants, I think just write off this year and just let's come back to it next year.
Mm.
How much chaos is it going to be with the Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart thing? Their schedule, like we spoke about, is brutal to start. So they could be 2-5, 1-6 to start their first seven. Their first seven are absolutely brutal. So imagine New York and the kind of the talk shows and the media, the rest of the written press, when they're potentially 2-5 and Russell Wilson is a starting quarterback and you've drafted a quarterback. But you've drafted, I like, so I'm going to contradict myself. I like some of their draft picks, but if you're going to draft a quarterback, then you've got, and history kind of shows this, you should really keep everybody, keep coach and keep the offensive coordinator. And
Yeah, because
this year could be terrible. And I don't see a world where Russell Wilson is a starting quarterback week one next year for the New York Giants. So why are you keeping everybody if you're drafting a quarterback this year? Was that always the plan to draft a quarterback, or did the draft board just kind of fall that way and you drafted Jackson Dart?
you traded up for Jackson Dart as
Yeah,
well. So it's like you're giving assets away, and if this year doesn't go well, you're gonna tell me that the GM potentially Daboll are out, and then like you said, a new head coach comes in, and Jackson Dart's not his guy. However much he can say that whoever comes in, yeah, I like Jackson Dart. Okay, but then when you get the opportunity to uh, draft someone else, you're going to do that because it's not your guy.
yeah, the Giants just, I don't know. I like a lot of the draft picks that they've made, but the Jackson Dart one, I wasn't high on Jackson Dart coming out of the draft, and to trade up to get him, I know it wasn't they didn't give away much to get him, but they've still drafted a quarterback, and the head coach is potentially going to get fired after this year, and their schedule's kind of brutal. So I get it, drafting a quarterback, but you do that when you're clearing the decks and you start over.
I think in I think that he is going to be like playing by week 10. I think that Russell Wilson, it's almost like, reversal of roles from last year. The hunter has become the hunted, where last year he took over from Fields. I expect Jackson Dart to take over from Wilson at some point.
Yeah, I don't think the Jackson Dart. I mean, we could revisit this next year. I was spectacularly wrong, but I don't see it with Jackson Dart, at least not to be elite. Yeah, potentially mid, but this is my thing with quarterbacks. Like mid-level quarterbacks don't take you to the promised land. They take you to 9-8, 10-7 potentially. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I like a lot of the moves the Giants have made. Like their D line, their pass rush is.
I was about to say one thing that isn't mid is this D line potentially, and it's a shame that they went down that route in the draft because I do feel like, and I'm no college football expert, but I do feel like what I've seen, they got the best player in the draft in Abdul Carter. Like I am very high on this speed rusher. Like he almost reminds me of a young Von Miller. The way that he's so jittery when he's sort of going past the tackle. Like he can get very low. Like he's got great bend and the speed. Like, and he's not joining a bum unit. He's going to be next to Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. Like this is a very very strong unit.
Yes. but he's a draft pick, and
He's a draft pick.
so they hit what is 35-40% of the time. It's a different world, professional to college. And yeah, I'm with you. The film was ridiculous, and the production, like, really twitchy, rapid, off the edge. Play at Penn State, war number 11, in a division with Micah Parsons, but he hasn't done it at the professional level yet. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But I hope he does, because yeah, he looks. I mean, I follow the Steelers. Like, I love blitzing and pass rush, and he could be spectacular in a few years' time. So
I mean, if he does hit, that's quite a unit, those three.
yeah, and they're building something. The offensive line still, it's
It's tough. It's tough.
still a bit, maybe a bit better, but still not great. Your receivers outside of neighbors. I mean, Darius Slayton, I drafted him in fantasy in round 12, but
I
like,
think that's what will be disappointing for them this offseason, that they didn't really add offensive weapons. You know, and obviously they made a big investment in Neighbors last year, and they have big faith in him, and rightly so. But you're sort of looking at the other guys. It's like, you know, is this going to be Malik Neighbors centric because of, you know, you've got Slayton, who, it's one of those, isn't it? He might make two catches and they're both like 20-yard plays, but it's only two plays. Then they've got Robinson underneath, who, yeah, okay, he's a nice piece, but in this day and age, I mean, look around the division. Everyone's got at least two legitimate, you know, targets. And as much as we like Slayton, unless he's used in a different way, it feels like a lot is on Neighbors. And of course, the rookie running back from last year, is it Tracy?
yeah,
Like, he played very well. But to me, it just feels like offensively they're a little bit short. They went all in on quarterback. Let's get three quarterbacks, okay? But it feels like there's just maybe, you know, something missing, sort of around the weapons.
yeah, I think they're doing a lot of good things. I just think the Daniel Jones decision to extend him just set them back a couple of years. So I think revisit the Giants next year, possibly 2 years' time. If they keep making good decisions in the draft and they don't pay crazy money, you know, they're not going to pay Thibodeau because they've now drafted Abdul Carter. Neighbors, they've still got a few years before they've got to pay him. Obviously, Jackson Dart, if he turns into something, it's going to be a few years before they've got to pay him. Daniel Jones is, I mean, you know, probably more than me, is off the books or will be off the books now.
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of dead cap this year, but
Yeah,
um,
it's not going to be like a Russell Wilson Denver situation, is it? And
no.
he was a 40 million quarterback, I believe.
Yeah.
So not a Dak kind of contract, but yeah, they'll just for this coaching team and the GM is just, unless they get it right with Jackson Dart, will forever be tainted with that moment. And the moment that wasn't captured on film, extending Daniel Jones, and because of that decision, they didn't have the money then to pay Saquon, and that that has delayed the rebuild. I feel anyway. I could be proved wrong, but their roster is below mid, and they've got the toughest schedule in the NFL. So
Not
I
a good combination.
no. So I don't see more than 5 to 6 wins max.
I mean, it's fair.
But next year, who knows? Who knows with the Giants?
Mm.
And then should we move on to the Washington football team? aka the Commanders.
Let's move on to Washington. So they have made a lot of interesting moves.
A lot of moves.
Yeah, and
Whole
it's like
lot of moves.
they have gone down the uh well, I say the experienced route,
Yeah,
you know, and there's a clear focus on the trenches. You
yeah,
know, the big I guess the blockbuster move of the offseason was the trade for Laramie Tunsil because they needed to upgrade their offensive line. And Tunsil on his day can block pretty much anyone. Like he's a very good tackle who unfortunately last year led the league um in full starts, I think it was.
yeah.
So the Texans had sort of, they were low on Tunsil, clearly, because they've traded him. That was not a good.
They thought he was a pain in the ass, didn't they? They
There
thought he
you
was
go.
up for him. What I mean, he wasn't bad in the locker. At least this is the first time I've heard of Tunsil being bad in the locker room. So has he turned into a pain in the ass, or has he grown into a pain in the ass, or did he just want out of town?
I mean, the moment he was traded, Mixon was very vocal about being pretty annoyed that he was gone, and there were reports that a lot of the locker room on the offensive side were dismayed with this.
Right.
So conflicting stuff like
It's the
it's
NFL. Like the Texans can put a story out like through
yeah,
Chef sheet that he was a problem, and that's what people remember without actually knowing. But Tunsil blocking Jayden Daniels blindside, so
oh
Jayden
yeah,
doesn't have to worry about this blind spot when he's reading. And he's had another year with his VR,
yep,
so you can maybe add another fraction of a second onto his slowdown
mm-hmm.
because he's got that now Tunsil blocking there. I think it's potentially a fantastic move.
Yeah. So let's stay on offense. There's question marks because one, what do you do with Scary Terry? Terry McLaurin wants to be paid, and he's not gonna come back to the team unless he does get paid. But it's that question. It sounds like he wants top dollar. Terry McLaurin, would you pay him 36 million per year? It's uh it's a difficult one because he he's been there with you this whole time. But that's a big number.
It is a big number, but they have to pay him. And at this point, if it's 32 or if it's 36, this could completely derail everything for them if they don't pay him. So yeah, I get it. He's not probably at that cap number, but Jayden Daniels is on a rookie deal. Like this is the time. This is the moment. Just go. Just pay him. Pay him. But they just need to get that done because
They
he,
do. Yeah.
he he's shown with Jayden Daniels they had chemistry, and you just don't want to do anything to Daniels' potential progression. Like he hit it off with Terry. McLaurin had 13 touchdowns last year.
I think that he opens it up for a lot of these other receivers that, are not, shall we say, household names as well.
Yeah,
Your Diami Browns who were pretty productive.
yeah.
Um, if McLaurin's not there, they're not as open as they maybe were. So yeah, it's a tough one. Like you don't really want to pay Terry McLaurin 36 million, but he's a very good receiver. And what's the alternative? You don't pay him and he's gone. Well, your offense looks a lot different without him. So it's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah, I think they'll get it done. And if they don't get it done, then it's a mistake because
Mm.
they don't want anything to kind of disrupt. They don't want any like chaos, any they don't want any Cleveland Browns heading into this season. They just want to head into this season. The this is the Washington football team's moment to go. This is it. Like now, it's now. The Eagles have lost a couple of pieces. They're still the Eagles, but this is the time. Jayden Daniels has shown he's a superstar. Like, pay his receiver. It's not like you're
I'll tell you the only way around it is if they really felt strongly he wasn't worth that, you better have a plan. Like, if you trade him, you're trading to get a receiver back to replace him.
yeah.
And it's got to be something crazy. Like I know I'm talking like it's fantasy football Madden, but it would have to be something like we will pick up the phone to Miami and see what deal we can make for Tyreek Hill. It has to be that level. So it's very unlikely, but that would be a way around it. I think that would be the only way around not paying him. You can't let him walk out the door and not bring someone else in. That's for sure.
No, but I have confidence that they will get it done.
Mm.
Just makes too much sense.
Yeah.
And they seem to, since the change of ownership, made good decisions. This don't get caught up in, and I don't know what McLaurin is asking for. Like, and if you hear sources that say that they do, they don't. But unless he's asking for something crazy, then pay him. Don't get caught up in 2 million per year because you spent a long time searching for a quarterback. You've got a quarterback. Pay his receiver who caught 13 touchdowns last year. Don't piss off your quarterback right now. This is not the time. Everything is ready. You've been waiting for this. The oven's preheated. It's been cooking away for a little while. This is the time to go. So pay Terry McLaurin unless he's completely out of his mind in what he's asking for.
Mm. So let's say that they pay McLaurin. They have brought in someone else well, I say receiver. They've brought in another weapon who I know very, very well from his time in San Francisco. It is Deebo Samuel. It's a difficult subject for me because I love Deebo and I will continue to root for Deebo. But I have to be honest as well. Like, what has Deebo got left? If you and to me, just my very initial thought, you cannot use Deebo as a pure receiver because he's not a great pure receiver. You have to use him as a weapon, with your gadget plays. Play him at receiver, but put him on the sweeps. Put him at running back. You've got to use him you can use him in a multitude of different ways. That's where I think he still has something to offer. But if you're just going to sit him on the outside and think he's going to separate, it's not going to happen consistently, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know more than me about Deebo Samuel, but just objectively, what I know and what I've seen and what I love about Deebo Samuel, it's going to translate spectacularly to Washington with Jayden Daniels and I like the other running back Robinson and if they keep McLaurin on the outside, like Deebo just adds something. He's physical and he can run with Jayden Daniels, and they can draw up a lot more plays with Deebo Samuel on the field than they could last year. So if Deebo,
Reverse sweeps, like, I know he's not the fastest anymore, but the way that he moves, like you said, he's physical. These reverse sweeps were so effective in San Francisco. You play him over the middle. This guy is tough. Like, he will fight for every yard. And I'm telling you that there is something intangible about that. The team will get lifted by that. I'm
yeah,
just sitting at home on my sofa getting amped up because Debo's carrying himself through three defenders. Like, it's a real thing.
I think it's a great marriage, Deebo with Jayden Daniels. I think it's a it could be really special if he's anything like what he was in San Francisco, because he never, let's be real, he never really had the running threat at quarterback that he's going to have with Washington. So, and Shanahan knew that. Like, I know, don't want to, don't want to remind you, but he tried to draft the quarterback, tried to draft the dual threat quarterback, didn't he?
Didn't work.
Yeah, Debo, Jayden Daniels. I think it could be great.
And it's one of those where success is not going to be measured on, well, Debo hit 1,000 receiving yards or he hit 500 rushing yards.
Mm.
This is going to come down to like how many critical plays Debo can have. How many of those he's broken one tackle and it's gone for 50 yards. It's not going to be a statistical success. It's
Yeah,
going to be this guy, when we need a play, makes the play.
yeah. How many third down conversions is Debo gonna make? How many third and short, fourth and short? Like, they were they were really aggressive on fourth down last year, weren't they? The
Yeah, yeah.
So add Debo into that. That's just another problem on defense. You're there getting ready for fourth down. Not only have you got Jayden Daniels and the conventional running back, maybe like either Debo's lined up at running back or he's split. And yeah, I think schematically it just adds another problem for defenses to think about. So if Debo's anything like he was, I'm excited to see it. I am.
You have to account for him. Like, it's not prime Debo, understand that, but you have to account for him. And for this is for 49er faithful, really, who had there's a large part of the fan base who had fallen out of love with him. What I will say to you is, look at McCaffrey's production in the games where Debo played with him and didn't play with him, and it will tell you a lot of the fact that Debo garnered attention, and when he wasn't there, McCaffrey's numbers dropped. So is it prime Demo? No, but could he still have a vital role in this team? I think yes.
Yeah, I think Debo got he got damaged by the well, we're going to treat him as a receiver. So we're going to he didn't have a lot of yards. He's not a conventional wide receiver. But
No.
like you said, how many critical plays did he make that affected the outcome of the game? And you want a Debo Samuel in the playoffs. You just want you want game winners. You want problems created for the other team in the playoffs. I love it. I love Debo going to the Commanders. I think it's a great bet. Great bet. Like, if it doesn't work, well, they didn't lose a whole lot. Like, they're going for it, the Commanders. So as they're going for it in so many other ways, Tunsil and Von Miller now, like,
And this isn't just regular Debo. This is chip on his shoulder, motivated contract year Debo Samuel. So call me biased. I think we're going to see a great year from Debo this year.
Yeah, I'd be excited if I was a Washington Washington fan this year for Jayden Daniels and Debo Samuel because of the type of player that he is and how he could potentially fit into that with Cliff Kingsbury didn't kind of work out as a head coach, but he's a pretty good OC. Add Debo into it. Yeah, I think it's a great move.
So that is the offense. I mean, defensively, it's a bit of an old defense, but they're leaving no stone unturned. Von Miller, Bobby Wagner's still there. We didn't really get to see Lattimore last year, but we're certainly going to see him this year, I think.
Yeah.
And they've brought in Deatrich Wise from the Patriots, who is a solid D lineman, and they've brought in another ex 49er in Javon Kinlaw, who he was a first round pick, and so he's going to be viewed as a bust. But if he can stay healthy, he's a pretty good player as well, like as a role player. So clearly they've seen, we know what our weakness was last year. It was the trenches, and they've tried to address it.
Yeah, their defense, just looking through their defensive roster, like I don't think they have any speed. I'm yeah, the safety players, obviously, every most secondary players do have great speed, but your linebackers to me look pretty old. I love Frankie Louvu; he makes plays, but yeah,
How long? How much more is Bobby Wagner going to keep going? I mean,
the last surviving member of the Legion of Boom, I believe that's right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Since Sherman is gone, yeah, he's got to be. He's got to be. He was drafted in 2012. Perfect timing for that.
He's had a hell of a run.
Yeah, he's been great, but from remembering the Commanders games last year, defense was a bit of a problem, and I didn't study the Commanders in detail, but my first take when I think of the Commanders defense is they don't have any speed. So they really need, and I know he's a Steelers player, but I'm going to pick on him. Like they really need kind of a Patrick Queen or a Roquan Smith in the middle. Maybe more a Queen than a Roquan Smith because I think Queen's quicker. They need kind of a side to side, like make a lot of tackles. Bobby Wagner's not doing that at age 35. Frankie Louvu does make plays. I like him a lot. But Kinlaw and the defensive line, they're getting on in age, and
it almost feels like they're kind of built for 2012. The irony of that, the fact they've got Wagner. Like, I agree. I think they're missing that speed, that side to side, playmaker. Like maybe that would definitely change life for them. But they had to at least try and improve the defensive line, and that they've gone out and got some big guys,
yeah,
Deatrich Wise, Kinlaw, Von Miller. Again, what a career he's had, but he's at the end. Let's face it. So we're going to see if this experienced experiment, works or not. I have my doubts.
Yeah, but Dan Quinn is a great defensive coach, and he's there for year two, so he knows more than we do, and he's must have been heavily involved in the decisions to assemble this defensive roster. So Yeah, that's my overall thing with Washington would be the defense could be a problem, but the offense, I love it. I love it. I think Tunzel and Debo could change everything. But
Yep.
like they were involved in a lot of shootouts.
Mm. Is is this a team? Should we do a little win loss prediction on this team? I feel like this is a curious team to look at.
Okay. Well, so it's your turn, yeah?
Okay.
All right. Okay, so Washington will do the win-loss. Right. Kick off the season, home for the Giants.
Win.
At the Packers.
I say win.
Home for the Raiders.
Win.
At the Falcons.
Surely they don't start 4-0. They had a great game last year. I'll say they lose that one.
At the Chargers.
Wow. I say they lose.
Home for the Bears.
Win.
At the Cowboys.
Win.
At the Chiefs.
That is a loss.
Home.
Oh, I don't want to disregard Jayden Daniels in these big games, but okay, I will say loss. Not dismissing them though.
Home for the Seahawks.
Win.
Home for the Lions.
Oh wow. Grudge match. I
Rematch.
say I say loss.
At the Dolphins.
Win.
Home for Denver.
Wow. Denver. I can't wait to look at them. I'm gonna say win.
At the Vikings.
Win.
At the Giants.
Win.
Home for the Eagles.
Loss.
Home for the Cowboys.
I'm gonna say they split as well. Loss.
At the Eagles to round out.
Loss.
So right, you've got Washington 10-7.
That is very interesting. Because there was a number of games where I don't, yeah, it's year two for the Commanders, so it's hard. It's hard to know what to expect. Like, there's going to be peaks and valleys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we're kind of dead on
Yeah.
what I would think. Should move on to Philadelphia.
Yeah, let's round it off with the Philadelphia Eagles. I simply have one question to start off with you. Can the Eagles repeat?
Yes, they can. They seem to overcome obstacles better than almost any other team in the NFL, whether it's changing offensive coordinators, changing both coordinators last year.
Mm.
This is year two with Vic Fangio. Jalen Hurts has another offensive coordinator this year. But the thing with Philadelphia, I don't think that the head coach gets well, he does get some credit, but he doesn't get enough credit. Maybe because people remember that dumb press conference that he gave when he first came to town. But first impressions count. But Nick Sirianni is not, because he's not a play caller. He's not, your Sean McVays and these kind of coaches get so much more love than Nick Sirianni does. This
Yeah.
team were, I think it was 4-2. Do you remember they went to Tampa early on in the season last year and they got beat in Tampa? And Sirianni called a team meeting. This is what I've heard. And he got everybody together. They went on a tear after that. So this seems to be a head coach who's a really good motivator and just stays out of the way of the coordinators. And I want a head coach who's no chaos. Um, yeah, I just don't think he gets enough credit,
And,
Sirianni.
and he's a fiery character.
Yeah,
Yeah. But I love that.
yeah,
Like, I know that it can boil over, but maybe because I'm from the school of Jim Harbaugh, who, in his 49er days boiled over. I love coaches like that. I don't think that he's really gone well. Maybe um, chirping back at fans. Yeah, maybe don't do that. But I agree. Like, I feel like the way that the credit is distributed to this team is a bit uneven. In that I do, and I hope people don't think that I'm a Jalen Hurts hater for saying this, but I do feel like Hurts maybe gets a bit more credit than he probably deserves, and Sirianni probably gets less credit than he deserves. For the role that he plays. Like you said, he's not a play caller, so people just think, well, he's just there to, he's just a figurehead. But I think he does a lot more than that.
yeah, because he's not involved. The natural perception would be, oh, a lot of coaches could turn up and this team would be contending for a championship. No,
Mm.
it doesn't work like that. There's a lot more to being an NFL head coach than just turn up, and the roster, the talent care of itself. You still have to manage the practices. You still have to at least oversee what the coordinators are doing and
You have
just
to manage the players, the personalities.
yeah,
There's a lot of he's especially for someone like AJ Brown, who, let's face it, he has his ups and he has his downs. Like, he has to be managed. And little things like asking Saquon, "Do you want this record?" And Saquon turning around and saying, "Nah, let's let the young guys cook." You know, he pays attention to the details of player morale, player motivation.
yeah. It's really hard for the Eagles to repeat. We've seen that through history, but the roster is still, for the most part, there, and the key parts of the roster are there. They've lost a little bit on pass rush. Well, they've lost two very good players on pass rush, but
But look at what they added.
it's
You know,
last year was almost unfair how many players they had. So if you subtract a little, there's still going to be people say, and I agree. Yeah, it's a conversation, but I definitely agree that they're, if not the best roster, they're definitely in the top three rosters in the league, talent wise.
who,
And
who would you have challenging them for roster?
the Lions and then the Ravens, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
I
I, th-
really,
I think for the Lions, I think that I would take the Eagles because of their defense.
yeah, the Lions defense is the question. Yeah, for
Mm.
sure. And with the Ravens,
Oh, the Ravens are loaded.
the Ravens are loaded,
Mm.
and it's almost unfair how they just keep adding players. But yeah, Philadelphia is just a funny team to evaluate because Jalen Hurts is not a conventional quarterback. But then if you look back at the stats over the whole year, he's actually a really efficient passer. It's just that when you look at individual plays, like, oh, this guy's not a pocket quarterback, but he seems to be a big moment quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair.
And he turns up in the playoffs. So I don't know. I don't really think this guy's he's won he's won more Super Bowls than Dan Marino.
But what I would say to that is, if he's on any other team last year, does he win the Super Bowl?
If Jalen Hurts is on any other team,
Yeah. That's my only pushback on, this branding that he is a winner. And you have to you play with what you've got. And if you've got a great team, go and capitalize. Because Dak Prescott hasn't. There's guys that have been in great situations. I'm not saying Dak's ever had a roster as good as the Eagles last year, but he's had great rosters and he hasn't come close. So I will give Jalen Hurts the credit for that. The fact that he's in a great position and he's taken it. I think more so in the NFC Championship than the Super Bowl, because I think in the Super Bowl, they win that game as long as you don't make a mistake. But the NFC Championship, he put his foot on the Commander's throat in that game. So I'll definitely give him his dues.
yeah, I do like Jalen Hurts. I just like the story. He's not a first round quarterback, and he's been doubted throughout his career. He's benched in college, transferred, and then he's come to the league and wasn't supposed to start and won the job. And he maybe doesn't get the media love because he doesn't have the stats to back it up, and he doesn't. He seems a bit serious. He's,
He has improved as a passer every year.
yeah,
Again, I will give him that.
he makes some great throws. So like some of the throws he's made to Smith and Brown, if you watch back up, he can make great throws. It's just we get so caught up in the you need to throw for 300, 350. You need that quarterback. But what about his conversion rate on third down? What about he didn't make mistakes? Add in all of the conversions with the tush push. Like that's a real thing. Like third and short is not the same problem for the Eagles that it is for most of the NFL.
Yeah.
It's a combination of everything with Jalen Hurts. It's not just he's going to sit back there and dot you up.
No. That's where I think there needs to be a middle ground, because once again, I feel like we're talking like we were talking about Purdy a couple of years ago. You've got one crowd that either say he's somehow top 5, or the other crowd that somehow say he's trash. And I feel like it's almost the same with Hurts. You see things where people think that he has no role at all on the team, but then you see the other side where people are saying, oh, well, it's disrespectful to rank him under Burrow and Lamar. And I'm like, there's got to be a middle ground here. Like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, he's a good quarterback. Now, is he one of the top 4 for me? No, he's not. But that doesn't mean he's trash. Like, he's a good player. Those 4 are on a different planet.
Yeah, and it's everybody's got an opinion about quarterbacks, especially, and it's just how much weighting you put. I put a great deal of weighting on big moments and playoff wins when other people might just look more at the overall body of work, regular season and stats and touchdowns and highlight reels. And that's why I rate Jalen Hurts maybe higher than most, but then apparently not as high as some people who say, yeah, he's number
Yeah,
five,
yeah.
he's number three because of the Super Bowl, because of outplaying Mahomes twice. But with the Eagles, the big question to me would be, can Saquon do that again or something similar?
Because you bet your life every team that is playing the Eagles are spending this offseason figuring out how the hell do we stop this? And that's the beauty of the Eagles. Their offense is it's very simple.
Yeah,
Saquon probably has three different runs. And, in the passing game, there's only a handful of passing plays, but you can't stop it because they've got the offensive line. They do all of the things that if you do them right, you're laughing. Like how many, the protection that Hertz has, it's amazing. And the blocking that Saquon has in front of him, it's amazing. Um, it feels like you don't really see that many negative plays, on the offensive side, especially in the run game.
yeah.
So you just have to give credit once again to Howie Roseman, you know, building this roster. And, you know, I think you were saying earlier, they've lost some players on defense. Josh Sweat, for example, because, they're not going to go and pay him market value because they believe in their ability to evaluate. And, you know, they've brought in Aziz Ojulari, who, like, I'm personally quite high on from the Giants. And the fact that Howie Roseman thinks so too gives me some confidence in that now. But it's just these kind of signings that they have full confidence in their ability to replace players. They've gone and got Jihad Campbell now, who apparently can rush the passer as well. I mean, I know he was complete, but if he comes back healthy, that front seven might actually be better than last year.
Yeah, they've done it before. They just do it time after time. Philadelphia, they just find guys to replace to fit into the system. We keep the ones who are critical to it, and then there's interchangeable parts around that, like Williams and Sweat leaving. They can load up with Ojolari and yeah, Campbell's a great addition, at least on film, but he's a draft pick, so we'll see. But at least on film, him next to Zach Bourne. Wow.
The prospect, yeah.
The corners were great last year, but they've now lost the veteran leadership of Darius Slay being there,
Mm.
and with them, they're heading into year two. Are they going to continue to be great like they were last year? We'll see, because they were really, really good, the corners last year. Um,
Yeah, they let Gardner Johnson walk as well at safety. So once again, they're in a retooling mode. Like it's not a full revamp, but if there's someone that I trust to fill these holes, it is Howie Roseman.
I think they were 2-2 after the Bucks game,
I think you're right. Yeah.
really, really early. And I remember, yeah, because the talk was, oh, the Eagles are in trouble. Do you see how they got crushed by the Bucks? Yeah, I need to quickly look that up.
Yeah. Have you seen who they have replaced Gainwell with as their backup running back?
No.
So, I don't know if this is going to work, but imagine they've got this dominant offensive line, and then they've got the superstar Saquon Barkley who can do everything. Well, when he needs a breather, they've decided to bring in AJ Dillon from the Packers, Mister, like, massive quads, and just
Yeah.
I'm thinking the last thing you want to see as a defensive player after dealing with Saquon is just this like powerhouse juggernaut who's basically going to go for like 4 yards most of the time, but it's going to be like 4 yards after contact. Like again, that's just another small little wrinkle just to wear you down a little bit more.
So the Eagles were 14-3 last year, and they were 2-2 after losing to the Bucks 33-16 on the road. 2-2 heading into their bye. They lost one regular season game after that.
They are just an. It's almost. I don't want to. I mean, I think I'm right in saying they kind of go under the radar a bit somehow. Because remember the year before, they were like 10-0,
Yeah,
and then it fell apart. But they just go on these like, we're just quietly winning 10 games in a row or 10 out of 11.
yeah. Well, they don't. Well, at least for the most part, they did absolutely kill what they killed. They killed the Cowboys. The combined score last year, Dallas, Philadelphia, can't even do the maths, was 75-13.
Wow.
They
And
won they won in Dallas 34-6 and
mm,
them in Philadelphia 41-7.
wow. But
Jeez.
the thing is, right? I'm trying to look at the NFC and say, well, who is going to take them down? And we're going to come to this division probably next or the one after. A lot's being made of the Rams coming close in Philadelphia, but I just want to remind everyone, that was a snow game,
Yeah.
so anything can happen. And let's just take a trip back to the regular season under normal conditions when the Eagles went into LA.
Mm.
Saquon went berserk against them. I think he had almost 300 yards. So I just want to pump the brakes a little bit on the Rams. I know they're a good team. I know they will probably be favorites to win the NFC West, but there are levels to this. Like to say that they are, you know, capable of taking down the Eagles, I'm not so sure on that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, the Eagles are almost a little bit under the radar. I know they're the Super Bowl champs, but yeah, they'll win a lot. They'll win quite a few games by one score, maybe 10 points, and it's not spectacular like
Yeah.
others, but they'll just stack wins. And they're versatile. So they can be involved in a Ravens kind of a game, like a ground and pound running game, a physical game, but they can also be involved in a shootout,
Mm.
and they can be involved in a low scoring game. They're the Eagles, they won in the snow in the playoffs, and then they'll win in LA in great weather. They can win on turf, they can win outdoors. They Eagles, well, talent travels and talent just overcomes most things. Simplistic scheme doesn't matter when you've got like Lane Johnson blocking for you, right? So the Eagles are still going to be really good. Really.
And it just feels like the level of talent they've got at these positions, it's funny because they've got a GM who is ultra proactive and gets ahead of every contract that he can. But it's like when you look at the positions, you say, okay, AJ Brown, he's not the best receiver in the league, but he's right up there. So he's not looking to, well, I mean, okay, he probably reset the market at that time, but it's not like you're saying, oh, well, it's Justin Jefferson, you have to, plus 5 million it. Like, it's just like, okay, well, you're next in line, so we'll give you the money. And Devontae Smith, you're really our number two receiver, but you're good enough to probably be a number one. So you're getting less money, but because we've come to you quickly, you're happy. They are a machine, and they draft well. They seem to evaluate free agents well and not overspend.
Yeah.
And they've done a great deal with Hurts, where, yes, if you want to look at the headline number, which I think is like 53, then, you do you. But if you look at the detail, he is cheap for the first 3 years of that contract. And it's only after that 3 years that it bumps up. Guess what? In 3 years' time, they'll probably redo the contract. So those years won't be even a thing.
And in 3 years' time, the salary cap is going to be greater than it currently is.
Exactly. So
it's funny you mentioned Justin Jefferson because we're talking about the Eagles and we're giving them so much love, but he will forever be tied to Philadelphia, Justin Jefferson.
Oh, yeah. For all the good they've done. Wow.
They did not draft Jefferson in the year that they drafted a receiver who I believe is now out of the league. Jalen. I think he was on the Patriots last year.
The irony was that he actually ended up at the Vikings for a little bit.
Right. Yeah. But for the most part, that is the outlier. For the most part, they make the right decisions.
Yeah.
So we have no reason to doubt that the decisions that they've made in this offseason will not come true again.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that we really haven't even mentioned Jalen Carter's name, it just tells you how loaded they are, And it's a young, the defense is actually quite a young group. You've got the two young corners. You've got Carter. Nakobe Dean is only a couple of years in. I'm probably missing some guys. Jihad Campbell's coming in. We'll see how he develops. They could be good for a while.
Yeah, second year coordinator Vic Fangio. We saw towards the end of last year how he made a difference, and he's coming back, and most of the team are coming back. So there's no change at coordinator, at least on the defense. And
even though they've changed the offensive coordinator, that is a coordinator who's told, this is our scheme. This is what we want to do. This is what Jalen Hurts does well. So this is the scheme. Work between these lines, basically.
Yeah. Do you see any world where they don't win this division? Obviously you can see it if somebody gets hurt, but
yeah.
So we're here now, and if everybody stays healthy, if it's a full regular season where, for example, like the key players don't get hurt, there's not a catastrophic injury, like the starting quarterback doesn't go down.
I don't see it, because I don't think Dallas can win it would take a lot for them to win the division. I'm not saying Dallas can't make the playoffs, but winning this division, the Commanders with their old and slow defense.
I think the Commanders could. There's an argument that the Commanders could if it comes together.
It comes together, yeah.
If I'm really positive about Deebo Samuel and Tunsil, those two could add something extra to Washington. And if the defense just doesn't crumble, then they could run the Eagles close, but I don't think it will be enough because Philadelphia, I think, have too much talent.
And the thing with the Eagles is it's not all just like rosy all the time. There's a lot of time where they're frustrated because they're not executing the way they want to.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown basically had a private bust up? It was only midway through the season that AJ Brown was asked, what's the problem with the offense? And he said, the passing. Well,
Yeah,
that a lot can change once you get to the playoffs. So
but that's what people remember. So I've heard that. I heard that recently where, we're in the depth of the off season. So people are doing quarterback rankings. And yeah, I've heard the take of Jalen Hurts. Oh, you're forgetting that the passing game was in crisis, like a couple of weeks before the Super Bowl. Yeah, but they went on to win the Super Bowl.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So these prolific passing offenses did not win the Super Bowl. Jalen
Mm,
won the moments, the critical moments. So, yeah, I think people forget or people just remember snapshots. And
they just have so much, I think. Like if everyone's healthy, you know, Barkley's a huge part for them. If he went down, okay, maybe they will have to figure things out.
yeah,
But we've seen even the year before when they had Swift, who I will describe as capable. He's not Barkley, but he was productive.
mm.
So I'm sure that they'll just find someone else to come in, not be Barkley, but still be good enough.
Well,
And
they just win games when things are going wrong, and
yeah,
that's a great team. They don't have to have the stats. They can win many different ways.
yeah,
This is an offense that can adapt to the situations that's put in front of them. This is a defense that can play in any conditions, and they've got talent everywhere
yeah.
and coaching strength with Sirianni and Fangio, and they've still got the tush push because it's still legal.
And they're in the NFC.
Yeah,
So, while I think I mean, they beat a load of AFC teams last year, it does help being in the NFC because the path to the Super Bowl is just that little bit easier. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm just going to say that it's that little bit less daunting than having to go through the Ravens, then the Bills, then the Chiefs, or whoever else, the Texans. I would rather be in the NFC.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But Jayden Daniels is the wild card. He's the wild card. The Eagles, steady. We know that they're going to be damn good. Jayden Daniels is the wild card. What on earth will he be in year two?